The one thing I started thinking about maybe more so was, let's not talk about Love's performance until we get 6 games into the season and we just have some stuff to talk about. But knowing what we know about Aaron Rodgers, knowing what we know about his personality and how it's kind of not changed, but like how happy he is to be somewhere else, and he feels like he has weapons and he feels good about everything.
Right.
And we lost Devontae Adams, and we know they haven't had a first-round wide receiver, and all these kind of things. Yeah. How do we feel though about Goody? I think he's been there. Was this 4 years at general manager? 5 years general manager?
5.
Okay, so in his coming his 5th year in general manager, like, what do we think about the job he's done surrounding Jordan Love with talent on this offense? Day 1, week 1, snap 1 of Jordan Love's. Now I'm the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers.
We both talked about it. The 2 tight ends, Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft coming in.
But unproven, right?
Right. Unproven talent, but at least you're giving the court, because as I remember I can't remember for how long, I always hear a commentator saying, and I know it because I played the game, the tight end is the quarterback's safety net.
Yep.
Life preserver, whatever, how they would quote it. So that right there, just off of pure knowing football, at least giving your quarterback some tight ends. And we know we got the young crew. He's been around the young crew for a year, Jordan Love. So he's been around Watson. He's been around Romeo. He's had practice reps with them. And he does have some game reps. Just a few game reps here and there from last season and the season before. So, from a performance in practice, like I was mentioning to my friends I was sitting with, this is practice. So I say it was okay. You ain't got to go out there and blow people out of their seats. No, you're going out there to really, I say it was, to me, it almost looked like going through the motions because of the way the pace went. It was like for us, we know our tempo. We were always a fast clicking offense and when we're going in drills, but from them, it just more looked like they were just kind of going through the motions. Not, and I'm not judging him off of practice. This is his practice. And it's family night practice too on the top of all
but that's like almost it's not an indictment, but it's a commentary on how we practice.
Correct.
Like it's not a Jordan Love deal. It's like if you're sitting there as the Packers all-time leading rusher sitting in the stands and you're saying, "Well, this looks slow on family night."
Yes.
Then it was, well, A, it is slow.
It is.
And B, like I don't feel good about that because me personally, I feel like there's such an advantage to teams that can prepare where individuals.
I agree. Well. I hear where you're
at. So I that honestly, when I hear that, like that bothers me, not as a fan, but just as a Green Bay Packer, that bothers me.
You want things full speed because it's going to be full speed on Sunday.
Shit, AG, if we're going to be out there, like I'm always like this. Like you told me to put my pads and my helmet on, I'm going to play now. Like You know what I mean? If you're going to put me in this stuff, then let me hit somebody. Let me do something. I don't want don't put me in all this gear and I got to put on a special uniform and I got to do all this crap and I got to get my fingers taped. Don't have me do it to like stand over there and play patty cake.
Right.
I'm either here or I'm not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I saw some younger guys, like guys on defense. They were actually playing. You could tell they were playing at a higher tempo, and it was either some of the veterans and then some of the younger DBs back there making plays on the ball.
Good.
Coming out, and I saw that. And that's what I was that I was excited to see. I'm like, these guys are really pushing. I think they had a couple picks. One on Jordan and one on Sean Clifford. He might have got it in there, or Etley. I think Etley got in there as well. So
let me ask you this. Knowing what you know, if you had an empty room, okay, we got to build out an offense.
Mm-hmm.
You got, I don't know, you got one draft pick in each 7 rounds of draft picks. And you got, a handful of free agents after that.
Mm-hmm.
And you got nothing. What are you doing?
What I'm doing is, go ahead.
Your defense is stacked. You just literally like, hey, this draft, we got to draft an entire offense. What are we doing? Or let me put a caveat. You can get 2 or 3. We'll just call them like not mid-level, but good, not elite starters in free agency to fill a couple spots. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. On offense. Well, definitely like with those free agents, that means age comes in. They have veteran leadership there, so I'm banking on that because I'm gonna build my team where. After I, rain down the rules and the guidelines, I want my locker room to govern itself, hold each other accountable. So that would be something I'll let them players know as they come in. Hey guys, we pitch you off for his agency. Thank you for being on the squad, but I need you to carry that locker room. I mean, as a coach, we know where our power goes and where it stops. Mm-hmm. I know I'm not naive to that, so I will let those older player, free agent agent player know that right away. And if I have, and then any guys that we get drafted, if they're I say seniors coming out, we might have a couple juniors here that we got drafted in certain positions in terms of O-line. Those are the guys I'm gonna lean on too. The big guys, because the big guys, offense, defensive fronts, those guys naturally kind of has a precedent in that area in the offensive side because of obviously working along with the quarterback, obviously, and moving people, and because that is where the quarterback and the running game start and stop. Any football player that knows a bit of football will know that first with the O lineman. So having a center, having a guard that are I say confident enough to go out there year one, day one, and having to lead that team from up, making sure I start from there, from the offensive line on out, and then making sure having a quarterback of good quality and good confidence and good, able to throw the routes that we're going to obviously work at. So understanding that, and I say having the age is priority one, because then the experience can teach the youth how to do it the right way, and then it carries on from there.
Yeah, if you had two mid-level free agents you buy a center, and for me, you buy somebody in the wide receiver room, just because I think that's a lot to put on a bunch of rookies' plates. You want to get some talent in that room, but you also I always think of like Randy Moss comes in, he's got Chris Carter. I go, that was a pretty good deal.
Man, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a pretty good deal. Yeah. Listen, you're going to draft a quarterback, you're going to draft a left tackle, you're going to draft a wide receiver if there's a talented one, and then you start going. The later, third, fourth round, I'm going to draft my running back. I'm going to draft the tight end. So then you just start backfilling. As the further along, you get some guards later on. The whole thing, you got to get a right tackle at some point. Yep. But you got these like key positions, but the key positions to me are like, you're going to say quarterback, left tackle, maybe top flight wide receiver, but I'm thinking like that veteran center and that veteran dude, that Randall Cobb, who can come in and like help everybody learn. Like, I think those guys are going to really put it together the right way. Of course, it just depends if, like, we'll see next year. I think there's 4 quarterbacks are supposed to go top 4, the first 4 guys drafted. So if there's those kind of guys like game changers, you got to get that one game changer on your team. Hopefully it's at the quarterback or wide receiver position. Yeah. And then after that, it's like, I think we can, if with a good coaching staff, I still think this, man, if you have a really good coaching staff, it's good on development. Like, you can get guys in different rounds. You can get TJ Lang, Josh Sitton. You can just find dudes who can play for a long time at a high level.
Yeah. And like, to your point, man, when you think about what we did, what you just said, and kind of what I added in there, you're kind of looking at Cincinnati. They had a coaching staff that was very young. You get Zach as the head coach, who had not much experience other than assistant. And within the first couple of years, he got that quarterback that you talked about. O-line, we knew a couple of years ago, O-line was not the place, but they somehow, Joe Burrow, he did what he did. But he had Jamar Chase, he got Mixon, he had 85. I can't think of 85 right now. I had him on my fantasy team. Higgins. So had a mosh pit of those players, and then a ragtag of offensive linemen that are now figuring out, and then the defense, like you mentioned. So that's kind of like what we saw the last few years of Cincinnati, and then progressively getting better. So
I didn't ask this before, but because Zach, I mean, I know Zach, and I like Zach. Mm-hmm. You know Zach.
Oh yeah, I know Zach. Yeah.
Zach was the on the hottest hot seat list that you could find before Joe Burrow got there. He was going to get fired. The whole staff was going to get fired. Yes. It was just they thought they were going to get fired beforehand, and then he got hurt, and then they for Joe to get hurt, and then they get Jamar Chase the next year, and all of a sudden they come together like this.
Yeah.
You wonder what that team, as bad as their offensive line has been years ago, last year, they're not very good. You wonder what that team's like without Joe Burrow. I mean, I think now last year their defense was good. They just lost a couple of key players, but their defense was good. But I look at that offense. I think Jamar Chase is amazing. T. Higgins to be possibly a number one on another team. Mm-hmm. I mean, Joe Mixon's a good running back. But I don't know if it's the style of play. I mean, listen, when Joe Burrow says stuff like, sometimes I'll just take a sack on third down because we're going to punt anyways. And I go, you have no idea the damage you're doing to your offensive line's like mental health. Like you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But even with that, I mean, you're giving up 50 sacks a year or something like that. I just don't know how good you could really be. I'm just curious to see how good they really are if that guy's hurt for like 8 games out of the season. Like, do they win 2 games or do they win like 5? I really don't know.
I say having Trevor Siemian back there, they probably get at least 5.
Trevor Siemian for 5 games.
5 games.
I'm just telling you right now, Joe Burrow, you heard it on this show. If Joe Burrow ever gets hurt, I will bet AG anything he wants that they do at 8 games. They do not go 5-3. I'll bet you whatever with Trevor Siemian, the Bengals.
I ain't saying they go above 500, but I said they'll get 5 wins throughout a 17-game season.
17? I was talking about 8 games.
Oh,
yeah, okay, 17-game season. I'll say they get 5 wins. Yeah,
well, yeah, that's where I'm at.
That. Okay.
8 games, yeah, 8 games.
Yeah.
In 8 games, I give you 2. I'll say 2 wins in 8 games. 2 wins in 8 games with Trevor Siemian.